This is a reckless action rather than anything more serious. The VAR look at the images and they don't see anything either that tells them anything other than that. Referees have to judge these decisions within the criteria and within the laws of the game. An important point I want to make, and I've said it before in the VAR show.
You surprised by this, that other than Michael Stewart, Willie Collum appears to be going kind of out on a limb to back his referees on this decision?
I mean, I think when you're on an island with Michael Stewart, it probably tells you that you're on the wrong side of history, would be my initial thought on that.
No chance. God's sake, you've been drinking.
I'll be honest, when I first saw the news, the kind of rumours break last night, I was a little bit, but I think, you called it spot on. I noticed in the chat that when Rangers released their statement after their initial meeting with the refereeing hierarchy after the game, and they were so negative and so strong about the feedback that they had, it did make you think that they were going to double down. So whilst I'm really disappointed and quite shocked that he's publicly taken that position, I do feel as though a decision has been made somewhere that they can't possibly issue another apology to Rangers, because there is now starting to be a bit of a narrative that I think we're getting into the media that actually we're on the wrong end of a lot of decisions.
You're a fucking crackpot.
And it's, apologies are no longer acceptable. So maybe they just couldn't concede another mistake in this situation. But the situation is farcical.
No, it isn't.
You look at some of the independent referee panels telling them that they got it wrong. And yet for Willie Collum to come out and say, it's all right if you kick someone in the head, just make sure you don't kick them too hard and a yellow card will suffice, I think is a ludicrous position to be in, and actually sets a really dangerous precedent.
Well, just on that was going to be my next question there, in terms of the precedent that this kind of puts out there now. It's quite a dangerous situation, I think, we now find ourselves in.
No, it isn't.
I'd be really interested to know what Kasper Schmeichel made of that incident, given that, a goalkeeper, and he could find himself in a situation like that very soon. I have some sympathy with referees that I think the ruling bodies have overcomplicated the game for them in terms of how they're refereeing it. Scottish referees are now trying to make it more complicated, that rather than looking at something which is pretty clear that Trusty didn't have to do what he did, and he has absolutely kicked somebody in the head, rather than just saying that's a red card, they're now going to get themselves in a situation where, again, it's going to become subjective in terms of, well, he didn't kick him really hard enough. I just think they've again going to cause themselves more problems in this, and we'll be in a situation where at some point this season or some point next season, wherever it may well be, that a very similar incident will happen, and that referee and VAR team will once again be put on the spot. It just seems such a strange way to go about this.
Do you automatically think that they must be laughing at you? Are you paranoid like that?
It does. And I mean, subjectivity is part of being a referee, and I wouldn't want to remove that completely, because I'm not particularly enjoying the way that video technology is interfering with the kind of pace of the game, etc. But I'm not really sure, subjectivity in regards to the likes of offside, which we saw in our game at the weekend, we saw in the Liverpool-Man City game. Whether you disagree with it or not, you can kind of make an argument either way. I'm not sure when it comes to physically endangering an opponent who is defenceless on the ground with a boot to the head can ever really be subjective.
Could be, might not be.
I mean, you think back to some of the things that we've seen in terms of, players going head to head. There isn't really a motion to headbutt, but there is a movement of the head, and that in the past has been enough for a red card. Nick Walsh himself sent off Diamande for a phantom slap that didn't make any contact, and then doubled down when he saw, the replay, and he still felt that it was a red card.
Oh, lovely.
I would love for Willie Collum and some of those VAR officials to sit in a room with a camera, go through some of these incidents where it was a red card, and then justify how that was a red card, but yet the Trustee incident in Butland wasn't. And I don't think they could. I think that they've decided they need to back Walsh on this occasion. I think there's already a real lack of confidence in Scottish referees, and they just couldn't concede another mistake. And so they've built a narrative now around, actually, it's subjective. It could have been determined either way. There wasn't enough force, etc. Whereas I think most referees around the land would deem that to be a red card.
Are you paranoid like that? I've always been like that. Are you?
Yeah,
It's hurtful, man.
this mitigation of the amount of force used, I found that really interesting because that mitigation was never afforded to Tello Asgard. And
Yeah.
even now, I still believe that that's a red card.
It is, yeah.
Does the amount of force merit Ralston to jump and roll about the way he did? No, I don't believe that is the case. But force and mitigation of force has never been mentioned in that. I would love to put to Willie Collum, are you now saying that a player's thigh is more important than a player's head?
I've lost the plot, man.
Because, you know, it's you're given a determination on the level of force to a kick to the head, but that isn't afforded to a foot to the thigh.
It's about the level of force. It's about use of studs.
It's with the side of the foot. It's the side of the foot, Nick.
And I think they've got themselves in a really difficult situation. They should be out straight away, the way they do in England. Howard Webb's already spoke about that incident in the Man City-Liverpool game.
Nobody cares, mate.
Nobody cares, mate. Nobody fucking cares, mate.
We've now got weeks and weeks that go by. The Rangers fans are now starting to say, you've came to that decision because, one, you don't want to apologise to us again, and two, you're protecting your referees.
I don't think that's what it is.
But Ash, I wanted to ask you this, because I've been thinking about it today. Could this be an opportunity for Rangers? Clearly, Rangers are unhappy and have asked for another meeting, which I think is the right thing to do. Keep it in the limelight, keep it out there. Willie Collum has put himself out there. Mm-hmm. He's made that decision that Rangers can use that going forward, that, you know, make his position uncomfortable enough that maybe we might be able to force some change in that.
You're not against democracy, are you? You're a fascist.
I just wonder if there's some way that Rangers can take this forward and seek a positive from it. It might not be overnight, but it might play into your hands. I don't know what you think on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's been quite a lot of national media attention out with Scotland on this particular instance. And I think when that ruling decision is confirmed, if it is confirmed the way they think it is, the likes of Sky News and some other media outlets are going to cover it. And I do think that journalists down in England and further afield are going to look at the incident and say, how can you make the determination that you've made?
We can support the yellow card tier in terms of the criteria and the laws of the game.
And I do think that then strengthens Rangers' hand to really highlight the point and keep at it. I mean, I know that we've tried various different ways to change the refereeing situation in Scotland, none of which have been successful so far.
Nice.
But this might be the sliding doors moment that sort of says, this is the ridiculous position we found ourselves in, that you've kicked a player, but it's not hard enough to warrant a red card.
We fully respect people's opinion if they think that's a red card. But here the on-field communication is very clear from a referee. You hear him immediately saying reckless, yellow, and then he's in a long conversation with the captain of Rangers. But at that point, he's also communicating with the VAR, and he talks about the level of force, which is one of the criteria that we need to use.
The smartest thing Willie Collum could have done is just made the apology, admitted that there was a mistake made, stood Nick Walsh down.
For God's sake, you've been drinking.
You know, I know it wouldn't really have changed things long term, but the first thing about, you know, being a leader is taking accountability. They just don't want to do that on this occasion. They've opened themselves up to all kinds of frivolous appeals now. Because if I'm a player and I'm sent off for anything that isn't, you know, a severe kick or a severe whatever it might be, I'm now going to use this as precedent and say, well, actually, I didn't even really make contact with my opponent. It wasn't even, I kicked him, but it wasn't that hard. And you've already said that if the intent isn't there and it's not, you know, a particularly violent action, then it's actually all right. So you need to overturn my red card. In typical Scottish fashion, they've handled this about as poorly as they could have, in my opinion.
Yeah, they absolutely have. And let's say that this is going to rumble on.
Oh, lovely.
We'll await probably, the end of the month or the start of December when that programme will finally get aired, and we'll finally hear what he's got to say about it. So there'll be plenty more to discuss on this matter. But yeah, just a baffling stance from the Scottish refereeing department here. But I'm not totally surprised by it.
Raging, isn't he? Fuming.
This is fucking sick, by the way. Sick.